Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, yourselves, debts, lessors, spouses, vassals, accountants. I'm a useful idiot. And today, I want to talk about the GDP. And it turns out that in July, the United States is going to get an automatic 3% bump in what the GDP will be. And this is kind of a big deal because the U.S. economy will officially become 3% bigger in July when the government statistics will now include a category of what they call 21st century components that will include film royalties and spending on research and development. The story says billions of dollars of intangible assets will enter the gross domestic product of the U.S. economy in a revision aimed at capturing the changing nature of U.S. output. And this is not surprising since the rise of the telecommunications industry, the information age, the data mining age, the streaming age, the age of entertainment, and these global partnerships and free trade agreements. These are getting to be a big deal. So these are now getting rolled into the GDP. And this is the biggest GDP upgrade since the addition of computer software in 1999. I understand they also do a little revision every 5 or so years, adjusting for new developments in the economy. And that's pretty interesting. I know big exponential changes can happen in technology and the markets in 10 years. So 5-year increment seems reasonable to address that. And interestingly enough, the changes will affect everything from the measured GDP of different states to the stability of the inflation measure targeted by the Federal Reserve. So this is where it gets interesting. Not only will it affect everything from the measured GDP of different states, in fact, New Mexico alone, his GDP will go up by 10%. This is huge. And but the fact that it also has to do with the inflation measure targeted by the Federal Reserve is rather convenient at this time as well. So, and that's the whole story to me here. This is really convenient. What timing to make this revision. In a lot of ways it makes sense, but one has to be suspicious because this will hide a certain amount of inflation. It will certainly make the American economy look a little better. Certainly less likelihood that recessionary figures, at least statistically, will be coming in. And credit rating will be based on things like GDP and debt to GDP ratio. So this is a big boon. And also the fact that research and development, it used to be part of the cost of doing business, and will now count as an investment. And that alone is going to add 2% to the GDP of our economy. And boy, who do you suppose does the most research and development? Yep, that's right, the government. So, so the government spending on research and development, formerly a cost of business, will now be part of GDP. And then, interestingly enough, in timing, is the entertainment, literature, and artistic original. So those are how they describe it in this literature. We're talking about motion pictures, DVDs, long-running TV shows, books, and CDs. So they're talking about, for them, it's information and information product. CDs, music, replication, licensing rights, royalties, syndication, broadcasting, licensing, commercial use. It goes on and on and on. The same thing with motion pictures and DVDs, long-running TV shows going into syndication, cable networks, overseas markets. Books now are digital, so that's an important part of the market. And this is all coming up in line with the new Trans-Pacific treaties, transatlantic treaties, and they have a lot to do with protecting the copyright, property rights, and information, and having the government and the private partnership to make sure that commercial interests are protected by the government, the force of the government. And this is part of a new international standard for GDP accounting, and that's why I know that this has to do with these trade agreements as well. So that we're going to have a standardized international standard for GDP accounting from now on. So this is going to be in line with that. So the whole world is going to be moving in this direction. But since, of course, the United States still dominates in a lot of research and development and the entertainment industry, then this mostly applies to us right now. And this will reconfigure analysis of everything from corporate profits to measuring economic growth. And that just confirms my belief that this will be help to hide the condition of our economy. And then they can use the GDP to go through all the other numbers throughout government accounting and the economics to make everything bump up and look good. And GDP will soar in states with a lot of military research and development. What a shocker that is. That's why New Mexico, of course, will GDP will go up 10%. Maryland will go up 6%. The hub around Washington, D.C. and Louisiana will only get 0.6%, a very low percentage bump in their GDP. So all the states that depend on military research are going to get a bump. So this is a big reward to all the states that have a lot of military and government in them and get a lot of federal money and military research and development in those states. And my state is certainly no exception, Washington. So, and then another part of this too is that deficits in defined benefit pension plans will also be included, because what companies have promised to pay out will be measured rather than the cash they pay into the plans. So that's an interesting development too. They'll actually be able to put into their GDP what they promise to pay into their pension plans and not what they actually do in cash. So that'll help their GDP. So even when they're not contributing to the pension plan, which a lot of states are doing, and cities, municipalities, are all doing, now they can just include all the spending up front in their GDP. And so that's the story. And it's a continuing story in government when they adjust whatever the consumer price index is, what inflation is, like taking food and energy out of inflation. Of course, the two most inflationary items in inflation and our living expenses are taken out because they're just too volatile. So how ironic. So that's how it works with the government. If you don't like the numbers, then you just change the formula. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.